All right, so welcome to the path to purpose. This is our monthly subscriber call. This is a call that's open to all subscribers to the Creative on Purpose Substack. For those of you that are paid subscribers, which is everyone in the room right now, we'll be able to jam after it's kind of the formal public presentation. And the point there is to do a little Q&A and to implementation if it applies to your current endeavor. And so the path to purpose, the first thing that we have to do is define our term. What is what is purpose? And everyone's put some really wonderful things into the comments already. I'm gonna, as the person that um, is the face of a brand called Creative on Purpose. Obviously, I've given those two terms a lot of thought. Uh, if you haven't heard me define creativity before, I think creativity is simply the act of bringing something new into the world, something that didn't exist until you put forth. Um, it's not necessarily something that doesn't have to be brand new. It doesn't have to have that innovation or that newness to it or novelty. For me, every human beings are created by nature. And so this conversation is going to be an act of creation. It would not have existed until we have brought it forth into existence. And I use that definition because I do see and work with people that have this very kind of precious relationship with creativity, or treat it as something very precious and like the purview of people that are artists or people that are writers or so forth. But creativity is just a natural human instinct. It's how we have always solved interesting problems, beginning with the interesting problem of back in the day of how do we stay alive in a world where everything is bigger, stronger, and faster than us and wants to eat us. And because we were able to solve that problem by collaborating and coming up with creative solutions for survival, we grew a big brain that enabled us to communicate better, enabled us to grow a bigger brain, and eventually dominated the planet. So now nothing that we don't want to can't eat us anymore. In fact, I think now we eat almost everything. Purpose. So just to circle to what Catherine wrote about Dharma, so that some of you have well, most of you probably know that I'm a huge student of the Bhagavad Gita, which is kind of a book about purpose, right? It's a book about vocation, about heeding your life's true calling, your sacred duty, your sacred path, your soul's true calling. These are all ways I've heard Dharma defined. And so vocation and sacred duty and calling, heeding life's true calling for you. Um, I often say your life is speaking to you because it wants to speak through you. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. And I also define purpose as the difference only you can make. You all have seen that. We'll talk a little bit about how you can start to dial that in today. Um, and I think purpose also is, I gotta walk across the hallway and open the door for the UPS driver, or I have to get the dishes done right now, or I have to uh, get through this list of phone calls. Like, we are by nature aiming aspirational creatures that find fulfillment and forge meaning in the pursuit of the things that we're pursuing. And so it doesn't have to be, for me, it doesn't just have to be that vision we have for our lives or what we're going to do with our lives or our mission in life or our vocation or calling. Sometimes just bringing purpose to the work or the relationships that are right in front of you is a way that you can nurture, cultivate, and encourage purposefulness. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but just to give you a sense of um, how I think about it, and take any of that or leave any of that. Take what you need and leave the rest. If you're definition of purpose works for you, then your definition of purpose works for you, and your experience and the rewards of that experience are always going to be much more informative and helpful than my opinion about anything. So if you one of the things that I notice in my work, which oftentimes involves helping people define and step into what I call their life's next chapter, is this idea of helping them dial in their purpose. So another definition of purpose I use is your reason for being. I call it reason for being because it has 3 words in it, and everybody knows I'm a junkie when it comes to 3, but I would say it's more correct to say your reason for being now, because your reason for being in the past was very different. Why? Because you were a different person, and your reason for being at some point in the future will be different because you will be a different person then than you are now. So most of you have probably read some of my little rants against this idea that Simon Sinek has around start with why, that your why, your purpose is fixed, and it's fixed by the time you're 20, and it's absolute. It's the only purpose you're going to have. I believe that as evolving creatures, we're entitled to an evolving purpose. If what Simon says works for you, I say stick with Simon. If what Simon says doesn't always work for you, there are other perspectives that are vetted and time tested and true by virtue of the fact that they've been around since 3000 BC or before. So one quick, if they're kind of, there's one more definition of purpose that I've heard quite a bit, which is flow. And I don't disagree with that. I would argue, or I would assert, that flow is the side effect of being in purpose, of being on your path, of executing the difference only you can make, heeding your sacred calling, duty, etc., rather than the purpose in and of itself. And so I believe that purpose is not something that you pursue or discover or excavate from within you. Purpose, like a lot of things, is an emergent quality. A lot of the times, my clients in particular will find that their purpose emerges from just doing the stuff that they're doing right now purposefully, which helps clarify their purpose and clarifies their path, clarifies their aspiration or their goal, and it just keeps getting clearer and clearer. And if you've not already listened to my conversation with my friend Stephen Cope, who wrote the book The Great Work of Our Life, but he works at the Kripalu, or I think he's now like an emeritus professor or something at Kripalu, but I had a fantastic conversation with him around all this. And so just that idea that coming from the Bhagavad Gita, from this idea of Dharma, like heeding your Dharma, heeding that path. And one of the things that he says is that really resonates with me, because I see it so often with the client work I do, is you can be 1 degree off your path and you will feel a deep sense of disconnection and dissonance, because if you're 1 degree off, you might as well be a mile off, I think is the phrasing that he uses. And the reason why I find that to be so helpful is that I think that life just has a way of conspiring to get you there, using every tool at its disposal. But we, as creatures that are fraught with cognitive distortions and biases and false beliefs and all the things, and the deep desire for confirmation bias of making sure that we believe what we believe because we believe it, and we want to just look for the things that confirm that belief, by either validating it or finding enemies that oppose it. And a lot of the time, this pursuit of purpose is just really about making those little course corrections that get you more fully on the path. And people often ask me, like, how do I know when I found my purpose? And it's just kind of, you'll know, because you will have that. Because you will be in flow. Time will expand and go fast all at the same time. You will wake up in the morning and never question what you're supposed to be doing with your day. And you will never be knocked off, because you're just so convicted about what you're doing, until you aren't, because time and randomness have this wonderful way of also, as much as purpose wants to win, time and randomness are undefeated. And so time passes and things happen that are unexpected, and they may be bright, shiny objects that are distractions from our purpose, or they might be obstacles that impede our progress. And so you have to just be aware. I think a lot of purpose comes down to something Grandmaster Mike Leone says, which is, it's always been here, it's always been now. It's always been here, it's always been you, it's always been now. Which is why I think purpose isn't an absolute and fixed thing, because we can't do anything about the past. The past is the past. And we may have expectations and attach and cling to those expectations about the future, but the future will sort itself out. It will have very little to do with what we bring to bear. The thing about purpose is that, as an emergent property that is happening in the here and now, because of the way that we're engaging with ourselves and our work and our relationships, purpose becomes a reward in and of itself. It's not getting the thing, it's being on the path and pursuing purpose with intention and integrity and unattachment, and achieving that level of equanimity. I think flow and equanimity are definitely walk hand in hand a lot of the time. That feeling of peace and tranquility, and experiencing peace of mind despite anything that life throws at you, is a result of being in integrity with your purpose. So what I wanted to do was, I'm going to give you a little framework for thinking about purpose, developing, encouraging, nurturing purpose. That comes from Randy Massengale, who's also been on the broadcast. He was a advisor to Bill Gates and Microsoft back in the 90s, back in the heyday. I'm going to share a little Venn diagram that some of you have probably seen before, but it's, I think, also a purpose wayfinding tool. And then I'll reshare a third way. I intended to just share two, but during my nap with Jasper, I came up with a third. So you're going to get that too. What I'm going to do is, well, here, before I do anything, here is the article for the Path of Purpose in the chat. You can click on that and look along there if you want to. It is one of the Wednesday wisdom pieces that gives a preview to all subscribers, but you all as paid subscribers have access to the entire article. And so the frequency, intensity, purpose is Randy's approach. And I put my spin on how he thinks about this, and I'm not like using his definitions verbatim, but I've talked to Randy enough and talked with some of his clients enough to know that I'm definitely in the ballpark here. So frequency is nurturing purpose by just committing to a daily discipline of doing the work. I had this instinct that this thing that I want to do is of interest to me, and that it might be something that I find fulfilling and rewarding and meaningful. And so you just start to do it. And the practice of frequency encourages you to start dialing in not just the skills that are necessary, but it leads to the next step, which is intensity, which is that unique stamp, that idiosyncratic approach to what you do. And that is revealed through mastering those fundamentals during the frequency stage. So when I say frequency, I'm talking about repeating something over and over, not turning the dial, although both things kind of work with frequency. And then purpose is that emergent property. It develops from your commitment to doing work that matters, and it emerges and grows alongside passion, and it nurtures flow. I am a big fan of inverting things to better understand them. So, because what we think is, I got to find my purpose. I have to figure my purpose out, and then I'll do the thing. And it's actually the other way around. You're going to do the thing, figure out how you do it in the way only you can do it, and then purpose is going to happen. So purpose will emerge from that signature approach to doing the thing that you will learn during the intensity phase. And that personal stamp, that signature approach, will develop out of figuring out the template. And so I'm not a huge, so I'm a big proponent of the Kolbe-A indicator. If you're not familiar with that personality assessment, I think it's a really worthwhile one. I actually started retaking it without paying for it by getting ChatGPT to emulate the questions. So you can actually get into ChatGPT and say, like, act like a Kolbe-A expert and ask me questions that help me define my score, my characteristics. I'm a quick start, high implementer. Means I don't wait to gather all the facts or to learn from someone else. I just jump in and trusting that I can figure it out, and I start implementing the things that I'm learning right away. I'm not advocating that as, like, the thing about the scores is no score is better than another. It's just telling you where your zone of genius is and the things that you have a natural tolerance and temperament for. If you're a kind of a fact finder by nature, then you are a person that wants to do all the research and learn how it's done and get some guidance and all that sort of thing. So it really doesn't matter how you get started with the frequency thing, but I would say that if you are struggling to figure out your larger purpose or how to achieve a short-term goal, and your purpose is to figure out this thing, the sooner that you go from knowledge gathering to learning by doing, the sooner you'll boost your intelligence in terms of being able to get what you want from that purpose-driven activity. I'm going to, since it's just us right now, and instead of waiting for the closed session, just a quick check-in. Is everybody tracking with that? Or is there any piece of that you feel like you need a little bit more understanding before we go to the next piece? Everybody's good to go. I don't know how I keep doing this, but I keep doing this. So I like this frequency, intensity, purpose as a wayfinding tool to begin with. The other thing is, it's also a great way to return to purpose when you get knocked off, as we were discussing earlier. Like, you're feeling like you're not on the path anymore, that you're not living in your purpose, you're not experiencing that sense of flow that comes with purpose-driven endeavor, then you can just kind of drop back to that intensity phase, like figure out how you, maybe the way that you've always done the thing is not, you're just not finding it as rewarding because it's something that you've gotten to a point of mastery where it doesn't require much intentional thought or practice to maintain. So it might be dropping back to frequency or to intensity gives you some sort of new tool, skill, a different approach to doing the thing that you're already demonstrated some mastery in doing. And if you're not feeling like you're achieving that, then you drop back to frequency. So you can move through the sequence, frequency, intensity, purpose. You can move back as necessary. It's not, you could think of it as a hierarchy, just like we talked about with the goal achievement. When I'm working with someone that has like no idea, this happens a lot when I'm working with people that are ending their tour of duty in their career, their bit, or are exiting an entrepreneurial business, or are becoming empty nesters and kind of their career, their business, or their role as a parent, or maybe they're experiencing some, a divorce or something like that in their relationship, and like their identity has been tied up in that purpose, right? I'm a mom, or I'm a husband, or I'm chief executive officer at this company, or I'm the owner operator of this business, and now you're no longer that. People can feel that, can create a lot of feelings of like confusion, loss, loneliness, and it can lead to people just becoming completely inert and not, like, they have no idea where to start. And so when that happens, I pull up the Creative on Purpose, define the difference only you can make Venn diagram. Just because so many people, I've used this, variations of this Venn, ever since I wrote my first book in 2018. It was in the Stoic Creative. It was in my book Endeavor. I don't know if it made it into Onward or not, but it's definitely also in The Art of Encore Living. And it's iterated and improved over time. I think this version is the one that I'm most happy with, but people still write me and tell me that the one that was in the Stoic Creative has helped them with something. So I think if you've collided with this before and not collided with the most current version, it's really not all that different. It has always been about starting with you, starting with who, and the who you start with is you. Who are you? What are your values? What are your guiding principles? What is your vision for your life or your mission? Then defining your talents, which are not the hard skills that you learned in skill on the job, although you don't have to negate those. Like sometimes we learn things in school or on the job that are hard skills that actually speak to and amplify our natural talents or our soft skills. Identifying those things, and then where you belong, which I call your scene, is you belong with people who share your values and need your talents to enhance their lives, and whose talents will and challenges and problems and aspirations will enhance your life. And if you can, I have a very specific process for how you dial those things in. If you were on the calls, you got a free copy of The Art of Encore Living. If you didn't attend the calls and you want a copy, it's $1 on on Kindle. So, and if you turn to the appendix, all the surveys I use, all the different approaches I use, but just to give you a place to start, I am a big fan of thinking that your becoming lies in being more of what you've always been. And so reflecting on all the things that you love to do and that lit you up as a child will speak to kind of your core values and guiding principles. It will speak to the core talents that you have, or the activities where you experience that sense of flow or that sense of fulfillment. And then all you have to do is simply find communities, in person, online, where there are people that share those values that you have identified and are in need of someone with the talents or skills that you've identified from your childhood. There's other scientifically vetted surveys, among them the Kolbe A, that are in there that you can use too. I'm a big fan of the Values in Action Character Strength Survey. There's other personality tests that you can use. A lot of people are big fans of the Enneagram. It's not my favorite, but probably just because they don't understand it and I haven't used it that much. And there's the survey that I really like to use around talents is the Gallup. Uh, I'm the Clifton Strengths Finder is my preferred tool for getting started with talents, and all the clients that have used those, all those various surveys have had a lot of success with them. And so, and then I'll just wrap up with the last practice that you could use if you are looking for a starting place. So, again, the Venn diagram can will give you ideas about things that you could be doing, things that you could experiment with, try, or put on trial and get started, and then you can run it through the frequency, intensity, purpose. Another way to start to cultivate purpose is what I was speaking to earlier. Simply bring purpose to the things that you're already doing. Like if you bring purpose to the way you prepare and chew your food, you will, if you commit to that and do it at some frequency, you will find that it makes you a much more purposeful about thinking about what you put in your body, how you put it in your body, how you prepare it, how you process it so that you extract the value from it, how you treat it with more respect. In Eastern traditions, they always talk about how mindfulness applied to mundane tasks like doing the dishes and so forth can really bring a lot of meaning and purpose to those things. And so at the very least, that's something that everyone could leave this call and start doing right now. And the very final thing is, with all of this, I think the three rules that we talked about in the Stepping into Possibility series, receptivity, restraint, and responsibility. Be open, keep open loops about things, and be open to new ideas and different perspectives on things that you already know or do. Be receptive to the idea that there may be a time or season to stop doing something because it's consistently not bringing you the fulfillment and the joy and the meaning that you're looking for, and it may very well reemerge when life is really calling you to do that thing. Show some restraint. Like, if you're going to establish a frequency, then establish a frequency, stick with the frequency, and don't get distracted by all the shiny objects and tactical quick fixes. And then responsibility, like take responsibility for your journey. You only possess control over two things: how you see things and what you decide and do next, your actions. And so if you accept that, you will soon learn that that's all you need to live a purpose-driven, fulfilling life. And instead of chasing and attaching to expectations and outcomes, you will find that they just naturally emerge from the things that you're already doing. And if you want to really hack it all, if you're just can't stand it, you got to get into this flow state and find your purpose right now. Go do some yoga. Yoga there's two ways that we find purpose. I've been sharing inspiration, like ways that you can be inspired to find and buy your purpose, but nothing sharpens the focus as much as desperation. Yoga is a controlled form of desperation, putting your body into these poses that do not feel good, and it's hard to think about anything else when your back is aching and you feel like your muscles are going to tear away from the ligaments and your limbs. If you're hanging off the side of a mountain, you're not going to be too distracted by the other things in life. You will find flow. You will, the survival instinct has a way of kicking your purpose into high gear. Not a recommended way to, long-term, to find flow and purpose, but just know that as purpose driven creatures by nature, it's always there, and decide how you want to access it. Desperation or inspiration. Inspiration is the earned path. It takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of work, but everyone that I know that has done the work has said it has been its own reward, and it's changed everything. So with that, I'm gonna get a chance to shut up, and you're gonna get a chance to ask questions or share reflections or tell Scott what a flaming idiot he is for all of his silly thoughts. Here comes Yusuf.
The test that you said the Kolbe, how do you spell that?
Kolbe,
Oh, okay.
and then A. I think
The
A.
letter A.
Yeah, and I think that's the version that's for like individuals. I think there's also like you could do a couples one, or you could do a professional one. I've never investigated any of the others. I'm just assuming, but it's a really powerful tool. Hello, Yusuf. You just missed the all the pearls of wisdom that Scott dropped, but now you get to glean pearls of wisdom from all the people that have been generous enough to listen to him for the last 30 minutes. Just out of curiosity, show of hands, if you're willing, like how many people feel like, is there anyone here that does feel that they're fully living into and through and stepping into their purpose? Or even mostly? Nice. Says no.
I know that I feel better when I do live into my purpose, but I still fall into the people pleasing, doing what others expect of me, which is generally not on that same path.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not an all or nothing proposition, right? You're not always going to live there. So get it. Go ahead, Seth.
right. I definitely think with the thing, the purpose or whatever, that thing that lights me up or that flow state, having been in them, just getting, I know I don't have to always be directly in them, but if I'm adjacent to them is something I'm working on more. And I really feel like, for instance, video or whatever like that. Like my idea is like I love talking to people about the stuff that I do and work in, but I can't always do that. Like I don't have a line of people out the door, to pay me to do that. So, but like I could do things adjacent to that. I can make my own videos, or I can set up I can have conversations offline or whatever like that about this stuff. And the more I feel like I do that, the frequency that I do that, if I could do that once a day, like that feels good. I know that.
Yeah. I'm trying to go through all of the content that we covered over the weekend, Seth. Would not be advised. It's a lot. The presentation portion of each was kind of it was really just like 30-40 minutes, and then the rest was conversation. Like the first day we actually stayed on for like 2.5 hours beyond the call. Yes. Yusuf was like, and Yusuf was like, more, and I was like, ah. But the here Penny was, I think, the only one that was on the kind of bonus call. But here's what was revealed. Like, I'm going to share this anecdote because it demonstrates a lot of what I was just talking about. I participated in a 5-day kind of workshop with two of my mentors. I worked with Laurel Portier a couple of years ago. I'm working with Nick Peterson now, and they did a thing together where they just showed up for 5 days and jammed on principles for building a thriving business. And they're all things I've heard from them before because I've worked with them both, and I've heard them speak to everything they talked about many times. But no person steps in the same river twice because they are not the same person and it's not the same river kind of thing. I was like picking up nuances or new perspectives or just new ideas were generated. But I was also like watching because I knew they were up to something. And I was waiting to see what, like, because they don't do anything without a purpose. So I was like, so, you know, these are not two people that just have a lot of time to kill. So they're going to get online. And I think they had like almost 900 people sign up, and they had 500 on the first day, and they never had less than 400 over the course of 5 days. And of course, at the end of it all, there was an opportunity to join a program, which I of course joined because that's what I do. I join programs. But during the course of just watching them, I thought this is really brilliant. You know, it's not something that I haven't done before, but it was done without any feeling of you know, this is all leading you into to the pitch, right? Even though there was one. So I looked at my calendar and I saw that we didn't have to, so Jasper's second favorite grandma was in town Monday and Tuesday, so we didn't have to take care of him. So I had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off. And I thought, well, I can't do 5 days, but I'll do 3 days. And so my intention was Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I created this thing called Success Essentials for Disruptive Times, just because I'm like stuck on this year of the dragon stuff. And I feel like with the political situation we're coming to soon, life's going to get real interesting real fast. And there's a lot of opportunity during tumultuous times. About halfway through the second call, I thought, this is a really amazing thing. I think that this is actually my new marketing strategy. And I gave it a name that I kind of lifted off of something I had heard Nick say on a call, which is I call it Be a Blessing Marketing. And you all maybe already read this. And so I completed the entire training without talking at all about this Be a Blessing Marketing piece of it. Because now that became like the B message. The A message was, here are 6 principles that you can use to make sure to get clear about and more certain that you'll reach it and get there, like clear about and closer to what you want with more certainty and by collapsing time. And I gave them all that. This works in good times. This works in bad times. But the B message was, and here's how you can sell it without selling it. And I'm sharing this with you, Seth, because I watching what you're doing and how you're doing it and leveraging Substack, I think it could be something worth exploring. So the whole idea behind Be a Blessing marketing is instead of building a funnel, creating a webinar, creating a lead magnet and an email list that you can pitch with offers relentlessly, instead of getting online pretending to be helpful when what you really want to do is start conversations that will trap them into working with you. And I'm being somewhat facetious, as you know, these are all things I've done. Probably most of us in this room have done one or more of these things, right? Like people, like the people in this room, we want to make a difference, and we want to make a difference doing the work that we feel that we were called to do. And we want to do that work with and for people that care and that we care about. That's what we want to do. But we spend 80 to 90% of our time doing things that we really don't like. And the only reason that we continue to do the thing is because that for that 10 or 20% of the time that we're actually like making change happen with a client, somehow that's enough to justify all that time that we're wasting. So what I did was I just said, what happens if I just show up? Like, if I love doing this and I would do it for free, why don't I just show up and do it for free? And, you know, oh, but I never give my work away. It's like, oh, I'm not actually giving my work away, because my magic happens when we're working one-on-one. All I'm giving away is information, and the information is actually already free because anybody could get it on Google or ChatGPT. So I just showed up and I shared everything I knew in terms of the information. I stayed on the calls afterward with people that were willing to be a paid subscriber and workshopped it, answered questions, helped them with implementation. The only links I dropped in the chat were to my Substack so that people could search the articles that I was referencing, the Guardian Academy Substack so they could get the same information from a different perspective, and the free community in Success Finder, which has all sorts of other free resources. Those are the only things I shared. When I got done, and so then I did the bonus call, like, hey, here's what you think you learned, but here's what else you learned that you may not have seen, and let's see if it worked. And I pulled up my Google Analytics, and beginning on Friday and extending, I think the picture I shared already and the article is already out of date because I have maintained the new level of site visits. I doubled the traffic to my site, not every day, but doubled it for 4 days. And I got, I think, half a dozen new paid subscribers now. And I booked 2 clients during the workshop, and I'm meeting with a third tomorrow who's a former client that's ready to re-up at the highest premium package. I never once dropped the link to my site in the chat. I never once shared anything about my signature offer, never mind my premium offer. So, I mean, I could also call it Wu Wei marketing. Wu Wei is the Taoist principle of effortlessness, of not forcing. Some people mistake it for do nothing, but it's not do nothing. It's don't force it. If you're being carried by a current downriver and you try to swim against the current, if you try to push the river, you will exhaust yourself and then you will get thrown over the waterfall. You take whatever nature of the situation is giving you, it's taking you down the river, but then you can just edge to the side over time. You might not be where you want to be, but you haven't gone over the cliff, and you're still alive, and you can figure out how to get back to where you want to be. And so this whole idea of effortlessness that I'm always preaching anyways is kind of summed up in this whole approach. It's like you're just going to do what you do. You're going to do it out loud and in public, and let the work itself be your marketing. I only had 14 total people on the first call, and only 7 of them showed up for the next 2 calls. And I think only Penny wasn't on the last call either, I don't think. Or were you? No, you weren't. So on the last call, I think we had 4 people because Nasli and Penny and Yusuf, people that had been on the calls, weren't able to be there. I didn't have to have 100 people on a call. I didn't have to have 900 people on a call. 14 people showed up. 7 of them said, what? No magic formula? No secret roadmap? No skeleton key that instantly gives me the results I'm looking for? I'm out of here. But 7 people that understood that I was sharing like these principles that applied broadly to anything that they want to do, and that if they just get these things right enough, they'll be okay, stuck it out. And 3 of those 7 purchased some coaching. And I didn't sell anything. I never once tried to sell anything. And so that's the approach. And I got to be in my purpose and do my work and feel like I was making a difference and feeling like I was being a positive, a source of positive change in the world. And so I'm going to just keep iterating and improving this idea because it feels a whole lot better than working with, and I love Laurel and I think she's awesome at what she does. And I learned a lot beyond how to push buttons in the Facebook ad dashboard. But, when I think about how much time I spent learning Facebook ads and then trying to dial in Facebook ads and then having stupid conversations with the kind of people I attracted with my stupid Facebook ads, I mean, I'd rather give it all away and have people just continue to pay me for the access so that they get the, someone walking the earn path and helping them implement and as a catalyst for getting what they want faster. So that was a little ranty and a little long. I've got about 5 more minutes before I have to walk my grandson out to the car and then walk my first guitar student in.
That was super helpful though, for
Awesome.
sure. Yeah,
That's what I wanted. Just trying to be a blessing, Seth. Just
yeah,
trying to be
absolutely. Keep them coming.
keep them coming. Go ahead, Penny.
Yeah, I agree with Seth. This has been so helpful. But just a couple of minutes ago, because I was thinking of I'm planning to put something together that I would be with people and share what I want to share, kind of thing. But if they decide they want that, then I mean, aren't you offering something that's going to cost money? I mean, you're not going to coach for free. And so do you create an offer? I mean, I didn't hear you say, by the way, you will coach, but I just wondered how you blend the two, how that works in actuality.
This time around, I never talked about my coaching programs. I never talked about any of my offers. Everybody that was on there was one person that purchased that wrote me on, it was either Saturday or Sunday or Monday. It said, "Hey, emergency, I can't make the call, but just give me your pitch because I want to buy it." And I was like,
Right, you said that,
no
yeah.
pitch. Like, there is no pitch. If you're looking to work together, go to my website. There's a way that we can, start to initiate that discussion. So we will talk about this in next, I will talk about it in a Facebook Live. I think that's coming up on the last Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday. You've been through it before, Penny. It's the diffusion of innovation. Like, how do you spread the word? How do you get the word out? How do you connect with more of the right people? And what I had decided actually a few years ago was I am not making people pay to be exposed to my ideas and information. I'm not making them pay for access to my ideas and information. And to a certain extent, you can get a certain level of access to me for free, or for practically free. Like, you all as paid subscribers have a level of access that most coaches would say, you got to charge $1,000 for that, right? $1,000 a month. What I charge for is if you want one-on-one coaching, which means that you're going to be in my phone on speed dial and in my brain, because I am constantly, for my paying clients, trying to help them get clarity, collapse time, get certainty. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for bandwidth, and you're paying for those hour conversations one-on-one, and you're paying for any conversations that happen in between. And you'll pay a lot, but you'll get a lot more.
Right. But in your presentation, are you talking or at all about if they want to go further or if they want to learn further? You're not saying anything.
You were there.
I'm comfortable with that. I just, yeah.
You were there. I don't recall ever saying, by the way, if you'd like to work with me, go to creativeonpurpose.com/catalyst and fill out the questionnaire. Or, I didn't say, oh, and by the way, I've got one opening, this next month. And if you want it, want to get a chance, you'll want to get it now. I didn't do any of that usual digital marketer kind of quackery, gimmickry. And I'm not, Yusuf has written that he has a different perspective, and I appreciate that, Yusuf. And I am not, um, I'm not advocating this as the only way or the best way. I'm saying this is a way that feels best for me right now. And I'm sharing it because I know that, like me, many of you are find it really frustrating to think that, like, do I have to be on social media? Do I have to have messenger conversations? Do I have to have, a lead magnet and a funnel and like, because it doesn't feel good, even though, it feels good to work with clients that might come out of that. A lot of us don't really like the way that feels. And so I live in a really small town. Everybody knows everybody, which has its upside and definitely has its downside. Because if they don't know your business, they'll make it up. But like, you don't get away with not being a good human being, because like, you can't try to trick people out of their money, or you can't cheat them or manipulate them, because you are going to see them at the post office, in the grocery store. You're going to pass them on the street on Friday night, and there's no avoiding, like, interactions. So a lot of what this approach is just be the best version of yourself that you can be now. And by doing that, you will become a better version of yourself. And the better you become as a person, the more you share and do your work out loud and in public with other people, the better you'll get at your craft, at explaining what you do, at getting people, learning again, like, what gets people to connect with me. It doesn't have to be scarcity and false urgency. It can be just doing extraordinary work that people can see. Like, people always say, well, it's not like Harley Davidson. People can't wear me on a t-shirt or a tattoo. It's like, they don't have to. Like, if you change someone and they start showing up differently in the world, the people that they know will say, what the hell is going on with you? And they'll have to say, well, I started working with this, this gal, Katie Palmer or Penny Harris or Nasli or Seth or Yusuf. And they'll talk, like, that's the whole thing. Like, the point isn't to talk about yourself and figure out how you can present yourself in a way that people want to connect with you. It's get other people to talk about you. And then you have no marketing problem. They're doing the marketing for you. Now you have a marketing team. I have to wrap it up there because I got to get Jasper in. And I hope that this was helpful for you all. Look forward to seeing you all on Friday if you're able to make it. And yeah,